It had been what was supposed to be the most stressful transaction, but I'd say that it was actually probably one of those things that I'm like, oh, buying a house, that didn't seem as hard as I thought it would be, or it all seemed more relatable once we started discussing it and actually getting down into the weeds of it all.
Hi, I'm Vikki Grodner, and I'm the college real estate coach. I am thrilled to have my friend and former colleague, Royce Dickerson, as our guest today. And I thought it would be so interesting for people to hear Royce's story, not just as a colleague of mine who was a realtor, but also as an investor who bought his first property when he was in college. I don't even know if you were 21 yet. Were you 21 yet?
Yes, and yeah,
Okay.
halfway.
Just barely, yes. So pretty impressive. So I think the first thing is, can you talk about like how you did that? You know, why you wanted to buy real estate when you were a student, and then how you actually did that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Vicky, for even taking the time to do this. I love to get a chance to see a former colleague, and really, I was a client of yours too. I think that's where it
You
all
were.
started out. Connecting with you on Zillow, going through the process of being a senior in college, the first thing you're not thinking about is where you're going to live or what your next steps might be. You're worried about going to senior bar crawls and finishing up your final semester.
Well, some
But
people are, but not
some
you, my
people are.
friend.
I was thinking about both of those things, but when I had decided that I was going to stay at Alabama to pursue an MBA for 2 years, I knew that I could not stay in my current living situation. I had been an RA for 3 years on campus, and being an RA as a grad student wasn't going to work out. And so, with the suggestion of my mother, who actually purchased her first home at, I believe, 21, 22, when she was a student at UAB, she said,
Oh,
Royce,
wow.
looking around Tuscaloosa, check Zillow, see if there's anything that catches your eye, and we'll try to figure out the rest of it from there. And that's really how we got connected. On Zillow, I made that
That's
first call.
right.
Yeah, you and I went on a showing, my first ever showing ever. Didn't really know what that meant, but you walked me through the process, and we started to get a good search on. And I think for me, being a college student, being 21, it was always about finding what was going to work for me. But also, I knew that I couldn't pay for it alone or pay for the monthly mortgage alone. And so I had to find a place that worked for me, then also hopefully a roommate or two. And we found, that first property. It didn't work out. Found another property, and then kept finding more properties. And I think we found obviously the right one that I ended up picking that allowed me to purchase it with the help not of myself, not only just myself, but with my sweet grandmother as well. Some grandchildren ask for money for Christmas. I asked for a credit score and a signature line. And that worked out to where she was able to co-sign with me on my first loan, first home loan. But then I got to find, two roommates to help pay and supplement that income. So I think that's what it came down to was the first thought with my mom encouraging me to look, you helping me look and seal the deal, and then again my grandma making it all happen. I couldn't have done it without her. So
Though I loved the story your grandmother told about you at the age of 6, and you confirmed it for me the other day that it was actually true. Do you want me to tell it, or you want to tell it?
oh, you're probably better at telling it than I am.
So Royce's grandmother told me at the closing table that she had gone into the bank and Royce was with her, and he was the tender age of 6. And the lady at the bank said, "Little boy, do you keep your money in a piggy bank?" And he said, "No, I keep it in this bank in an account." And so he already had a bank account at 6 years old. So, and you confirmed that for me the other day.
No, I found my Wachovia debit card the other day.
So yeah, so obviously this was instilled in you by your parents and your grandparents, which is commendable. So talk to me about being a homeowner as an MBA student, because you
Yeah.
were, as you said, you're about ready to get your MBA. But yeah, so as a student, what did you learn? I mean, what were the interesting tidbits, or good or bad, that you learned now that you were a homeowner?
Man, I think that's a great question because to me, as I've looked back on the process, I'm still learning things. If something breaks, I don't know what, this system of an HVAC system might be. And so I still learn things even, I guess 4 or 5 years later now. But I think one of the things that I was first thinking about was the livability. Oh, I need to furnish it. Oh, I want to make sure it looks like this. I want to make sure the grass is cut. those are all great things, but those aren't necessarily the most important pieces. It's what is an escrow? What is insurance? All these pieces that you're not necessarily taught in school. You're taught about real estate, but I think that's why it's so important and why it was so helpful to me to have a real estate agent like you who had been through the process of working, with young buyers who had not done it before, first-time home buyers who hadn't done it before, because you were able to go step by step through the application, through the under contract phase. Okay, we're doing our final checklist of all the pieces that we want to make sure we have done, and that the seller is responsible for before we get to the closing table. And then even that morning of the closing table, you're like, okay, Royce, this is what you're going to do. It's going to, be a lot of work. You're going to sign your name more times than you've ever done it before. But then the exciting part happens. You get the keys, and then it's like, okay, well, now what? Then you get to go to the exciting pieces of furnishing a home. But I think those little pieces, especially when it comes to the actual application for a credit score, finding the right lender, not just finding a lender, with pieces that I did not know but have learned over time. Throughout the process, again, through your help, we've been able to deal with all the little pieces of home ownership with maintenance issues or repairs, or how to deal with roommates and contracting and rent agreements. But it's been an exciting phase because I think as a business student, you talk a lot about what you want to do in life, about cash flow and making sure that you have the right profitability with the property. But it's one thing to have the actual application of it. And I think that's what I've enjoyed the most is seeing what I learned in the classroom actually play out. And that's really why I decided to get my real estate license is being in the MBA program. I had decided to specialize in real estate. And they said, at the end of your 2-year MBA program, you'll be able to sit for your license. I said, well, that's a long time away. 2 years seems pretty long. I know a realtor that I've worked with when, on this property that I just purchased, maybe she's able to help provide me some steps to help speed that along. And I turned, what was supposed to be a 2-year process going through obviously a wonderful program to have all the support, at Culver House and Manderson Graduate School of Business into what ended up being maybe 5 or 6 months of studying for the test, sitting, being able to, shadow you and understand how the process works. So that way, when I went to take the actual exam, I was like, oh, I've seen, Mrs. Grodner do this. I know what that means. And so I think it all helped in having the application and continuing to learn through the struggles and challenges has been helpful for me.
Great. So you went on to the next topic, which was fabulous because you, as you've indicated, you were not just a client, but you then became a realtor, which was amazing. And so we had so much fun working together because you actually used your real estate license while you were studying and getting your coursework done for your MBA, which again is pretty incredible. That had to have been a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Yeah, I mean that I say the test was easier probably than it could have been, but the test was still not hard. I mean, still not easy. It was quite difficult making and balancing a class schedule with a real estate course schedule. Luckily enough, I did the online route and I was able to take it module by module. But I even remember some of those moments. You were like, "How far are you on the course? How much?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm 20%. Oh, I'm at 50%." So even just getting through the course was, being able to balance and understand, okay, well, I'm trying to do this, but also I've got graduation and ordering cap and gown all at the same time.
Of
But it was one
course.
of those things that, again, having the same and the right support around you helped push you, but also knowing what the end goal was. I knew through the experience that we've had, the opportunity you get as a realtor or a real estate agent to be able to really help impact these people and what could be one of the most stressful transactions they will ever make in their life. And at that point in my life, it had been what was supposed to be the most stressful transaction, but I'd say that it was actually probably pretty smoother than it could have been for sure. But one of those things that I was like, oh, buying a house, that didn't seem as hard as I thought it would be, or it all seemed more relatable once we started discussing it and actually getting down into the weeds of it all. And so to me, it was all about the benefit of being able to do something that I thought I had some passion in, and then being able to really, express that through the course and actually becoming a licensed realtor.
I love that. I love that. Now you've gone on
And
to use
used
your
your
MBA.
MBA in another arena, but you still held on to your real estate license. And so you intend to still dabble in real estate?
I hope so. As I've said, real estate was, one of the things that, really popped up on my radar, senior year of college, but I have fallen in love with it. I continually check the market and keep myself updated on what's happening in Tuscaloosa. When I moved to Washington, D.C. to do the job that I did in the White House and now, serving with President Biden still on in his transition office, I still love and am attracted to real estate so much so that when I moved here, real estate is a little bit different in Washington, D.C., but I still want to be a part of it. And so, through our wonderful Keller Williams network, I got connected with an agent here in the Washington, D.C. area. And I said, okay, listen, this is my budget, but this is where I want to be. I want to be in downtown DC, close enough to where I can walk to the White House every day. What can I afford? And she said, well, it's not a one bedroom. I said, okay, well, I'm used to, a one bedroom. I need to have a bathroom and a closet and all needs to fit. She's like, well, you need to start looking at studios. I said, well, I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I never expected to, try to fit all my stuff in a studio, but I ended up finding this studio that I'm in right now, actually, and I was able to now become a second homeowner at, I guess, the age of 24. So I kind of
That's
have a
pretty
streak going.
incredible. That's
It,
pretty
it's a
incredible.
blessing, and thankful for everyone that has obviously been able to help aid in that. But now I feel like I've got a streak going, and I kind of don't want to stop. I continually try to look for opportunities to invest in real estate or really help a lot of the friends that I have. A lot of friends are graduating now, either from graduate school or getting married or making that next step in their story of life, and saying, Royce, like you did the real estate, you've bought two properties. How does that work? How complex is it? Is it really as hard as people say it is? Or I get friends who are saying, Royce, I can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can. I promise you. There's a process here in place that works. And yes, interest rates, you'll see highest interest rates you've ever seen. And I say we've ever seen because, during our lifetime, yes, maybe they're higher than they would have been historically based on this span of time that really is, we always say,
Well, yeah, the pandemic numbers were a
yeah,
little.
Little artificial. So
it's
yes, yes.
It's like we're expecting this to be the reality, but if you look on the long trend of what is the interest rate history, okay, six and a
Correct.
half, 6.75%. Yes, it looks higher than it was 4 years ago, but it's not
It's
as
not
high.
historical.
Historically, that's right.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things is trying to talk through people's fears, and that's why I'm gracious enough. I'm not a practicing real estate agent anymore, but just as a friend to them, being able to talk to them about what my process looked like and the success that I've been able to find as a realtor, but then also just as a client looking for properties at my age is one thing that they are all now starting to get their eyes and hopes set on because they see the opportunities that they can now have, especially starting young and being able to really provide value for themselves in a long-term sense, whether it be a few years or an investment property or someplace that they want to call home for, 30 plus years.
Absolutely. Well, Royce, I love that you're my friend, and I love that you're such an inspiration, not just to me, but to anybody else that gets to hear your story because it really is most impressive. And I just thank you for your time. And I'm Vikki Grodner, the College Real Estate Coach.